Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
You do early Wednesday.
It is an early Wednesday. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. Whose harebrained idea was this one, Tom?
Yeah,
that was me.
Divulge that. It was a group discussion.
A group discussion led by me, and I'm regretting it.
Well, that's okay. Sometimes we have to do that. This will be, I think as things start to change, our perspective will have to change on what that looks like, and that we may have to do these at different times, may have to record them as we've done in the past. So I think that there's, there's opportunities and obstacles with all of them, and we have to figure out if we are truly all in. We will have to move forward. So good morning, everyone.
Touche. Remember, you don't need to tell people who we are because we have all those clues.
Correct. So you know who we are. You probably also know that this is today's antidote, given the fact that it's listed there. Anyhow.
We're getting better and better.
It's going to be an interesting show.
It's going to be a short show if we take out all the filler at the beginning.
Yes. And our goal today and every day really is just to provide one thing. The one thing that might help you move forward, take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And while we go through a conversation about a topic, and this week's topic is being all in, we encourage you to share your thoughts, because what your one thing might be, or what is your take on what we are sharing, is going to be unique and different. And so we would love to hear it. And when we share our one thing at the end, please feel free to put in the comments your one thing, so that it may help you and someone else, to help them continue to move forward when they are stuck, overwhelmed, frustrated, or just uncertain how to move forward. And so with that, we will move on to our topic of the week, which is being all in. And today we want to talk a little bit about perspective. We've touched on knowledge, we've touched on experience, and so the logical next step is perspective. And I think we've talked around this for the last two shows. And so I think it makes sense that we should actually dive into perspective as it relates to being all in. So what are your thoughts, Bob?
Well, I'm going to give you a personal example of perspective. I did not get any sleep last night because we had a little family crisis that thankfully is resolved for the most part. And so I was up most of the evening, and 6 a.m. normally to me is early, but today it's super early because my perspective is different. There wasn't that 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So I am, on fumes at the moment. And normally if we did this, 6 o'clock doesn't bother me. I'm an early riser, but so that perspective shifts. And I also see how that's going to affect my day. There are a couple things I've scheduled for today, and I need to really think about whether this is the right day to do them, because I know I'm not really good when I don't sleep. I make short decisions, and I become a little more snarky and much more sarcastic, and those things don't bode well for my day. So that's one of those things I've learned over the years. And so my perspective on today, Wednesday, great day, got a lot of fun things to do, exciting things, but they may have to be altered because of that shift. And I think that's something that we don't do enough in our business. And to me, being all in is me recognizing that today I'm not at my best. And rather than be inferior, saying, you know what, I'm just going to take a day, I'm going to rest, I'm going to regroup, come back tomorrow. And I see this with entrepreneurs who don't take sick days. Mm-hmm. And then they get their staff sick. And then everyone's out sick. And what would have been easy, just take a day or two and recover and get out of the way and leave people, they can't do it. So sometimes I think being all in can bite you.
Sure. Well, I think that I think it all depends on what your perspective is on all in. Some people would say that fighting through, okay, I'm not feeling great. I have to be at work. It's my job. It's my duty. I have to be there. That to them is being all in. And I think there are others who would determine that, just like you said, if I'm not at my best, and if I have the potential to, do damage to the company, myself, my team, because of how I might interact or engage with them, then truly the best way to be all in is to not be in, is to be away, and to understand that the most important thing is the progress, the business, the team, the organization. And sometimes for that to be all in, we need to step away so that we can better prepare ourselves for what's to come. And I think the challenge with all of that is that we all look at that differently. I think that's one of the biggest challenges in businesses, is that owners think that all in means, not that you're 9 to 5, but you're showing up at 8, ready to go at 9.
Was it your boss who said the first one in, last one out?
First one in, last one out.
The one leading, right? And so you might be twiddling your thumbs for 6 hours in the day, but you're not really accomplishing anything, but you're logging the time, which makes it look like you're all in.
Correct. And I think that's the challenge, is that's their perspective. And so that gets passed along. And I think typically in those organizations, that's a challenge for most employees or team members, is that they don't look at it the same way that a business owner does. They don't look at it the same way that a leader does. They have other things that are on their mind that they're focused on. And I think the team leader or the owner, because they feel like they have to be thinking about their business every minute of every day, and that's all in, the employee might be like, you know what? All in to me is the expectation is I'm supposed to be here from 9 to 5. And that I'm going to work as hard as I can. I'm going to be all in from 9 to 5. And then when that's over, I'm going to walk away and not think about it until 9 the next morning. And I think that understanding each of those perspectives can help figure out how to be more effective. When we just say, my perspective is the only one that matters, that's when we're going to run into challenges and struggles and not be able to help people move forward. And likely, if we have a team, we're going to have people leave because they're going to look for a perspective that matches theirs.
Let me add Tim's comment, because he's up early with us. Says he totally gets the whole no sleep thing. It's his normal course events. This comment is, I think you can be all in and still protect those around you by not showing up. I have to get with Tom next week and figure this one out. That would be a laser solution session topic. The more I think about it, the more unsure I am that I know what all in means to me. And I will tell you, Tim, in fairness, I'm struggling with that working definition all week as well. It's not, and is all in you're 24/7 on your work, or is all in when you're at work, you're totally focused on work, or is it you're all in when it counts and the rest of the time you can sort of phone it in? And I've talked to people this week who have given me all those perspectives.
Sure. Well, and here's what I would offer you, is that it's just what's real for each of us. I think the key thing is defining for yourself, what does that mean? Well, one of the things I've become very comfortable with is there are things that I want to do in my life, and that means in my life, I'm all in on them. So I want to be able to officiate. I want a business that's successful, and at the same time, I don't want to literally kill myself doing my business, because I could easily work from morning until the time I go to bed. There are plenty of things to do. There's more social media, right? Emails to send. I could twiddle and fiddle with my website. So many things that we could do. And I believe that I am not as effective. And so my choice is that this is how I am going to define for me what all in means. And I think the key thing is, so often we don't define it. And even if we define it, we don't step back and evaluate that definition. Is that definition working for you? In some regards, once you define something, it could become an obstacle. It could become something that stands in your way because you said, this is what's right. and this is the only way I'm going to be, and not be willing to be flexible and evaluate your progress along that path and determine, things are going to change. So is that perspective still the same a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? And to say that things will never change, I think that really means to saying that you're right and there's no need to change it. So I'm just going to stick with that because that's the course that I'm going to stay with.
So do you think, Tom, that working definition of all in could change within a person from situation to situation? And I think about when my father was sick 5 or 6 years ago, I was working, but I was all in at work a different way. The phone was constantly attached to me and I was getting calls in the middle of things and be like, I'm sorry, I've got to take this call, because I also needed to be all in on my father's care because there weren't a lot of other people to do that. So I think those are the competing forces that we have in life that I always think of Steve Jobs when this comes up. He was so relentless in his pursuit of all the I things they created. And brilliant, great guy. But when you read about his relationship with his daughter and the people around him, they paid a price for him being all in.
Sure, no doubt.
Now that was a choice he made.
Absolutely.
I can't ask him whether he was comfortable with that or not. And I think sometimes in retrospect, we look at all in and go, oh, I missed some things. I've talked to some entrepreneurs who are like, yeah, I didn't see my kids grow up. They were 16 before I figured it out. It's like, whoa, you missed all those years. Yeah, I was so focused on my business. So I think all in doesn't have to mean 24/7.
No, I think it's funny, I'm in a group and one of the things we try to do with each other is talk about intentions for the week and what are the action steps that we're going to take. And it's a group that I've been with for a while. And so, or people that I've been around for a while. And so we have a good relationship, and there's someone in the group who's dealing with some family challenges right now. And it's taking up a significant amount of their time. And the challenge is they still want to be at their work and their business in the exact same manner. And they're having that conflict. And so the conversation we had with them this week was, what if you incorporated that part of your time, your action this week is that you are going to spend 10 to 12 or whatever the time frame it is you need on your family, and acknowledge that. Acknowledge that just because you're doing that does not mean that you're not all in on your business.
Right.
It just means that you have to look at it differently, and you have to understand that I am going to need to break away from my business and do this. And what I think happens is we become more all in. We become more understanding that, rather than, like you were saying, is, wow, I'm taking phone calls all the time and I'm breaking in or out, and it seems like it's a disruption. When you actually state it as, this is an action that I know I have to take and I'm going to do it and it's important, now it just becomes another part of your action items. And it would just be like if I have a client that is needy and they are going to call me at all times of the day, I have to understand that, okay, that's a part of what's going to happen. And because I break away from one thing to deal with a client or a family issue doesn't necessarily take away from the fact of being all in.
Okay, Tim has a comment. I like this one. Bob hit the nail on the head there. I have other responsibilities that I need to attend to that interfere with my business all the time. I look at work as what supports my life, not my life revolving around my work. And I will tell you that's a distinction I'm trying to make more and more each day, but that is a challenge for me. It always has been.
Well, here's the thing I'd offer to Tim. I'd like him to try to reframe the word interfere. So in one sense, he's saying that I have other responsibilities that interfere with my business. His next statement is then, I look at work at what supports my life, not my life revolving around work. So I think those two sentences are conflicting. The first one, he's saying that his life is an interference in his business. The second one is saying that his statement is that his work just supports his life. So maybe it's not an interference, it's just a temporary interruption. And how do I determine when I'm going to allow that to happen if I can and when I'm not.
Nice. Well, I think, Tom, why don't we wrap things up? Because I know you have a flight to catch, and I'm going to try to get some sleep. Crazy idea.
That's a really good idea, I think.
Yeah. So, folks, if you, we'd love to hear what your comment is as you watch this. You're probably going to watch this on replay today, which is fine. Put your comment in the chat box. We'd love to hear what your one thing is. And right now, Tom's going to tell us what his one thing is for the day.
Yeah, I think my one thing about perspective is understanding that not only do different people have different definitions of what all in is, which is really a different perspective, it will shift, and that's okay. What you believe all in is, what I believe all in when I was working at Towson is very different than what I believe all in is today. And that's okay. We are going to change and evolve because every day is going to be different. And I think that's the challenge that we all face, is making sure that we're constantly evaluating what our perspective is around being all in.
I like that. I'm not going to add to it. I am going to show you another comment from Tim. Interference is not a bad thing. It's just a fact. I set aside time every day for my work activities, but very often things in my life intrude on that time. Actually, I'm okay with that, but does that keep me from being all in?
It may.
Or it may not. It depends, right?
Correct. It all depends on how comfortable he is with that. And I think that's the key piece. How do we get comfortable with whatever we decide and say, okay, for the moment, this is what is real and this is what I am comfortable with. I may decide, you know what? I'm doing too much. Work is interfering too much with what I'm trying to accomplish, and I need to modify it. And I think that's where I got the point with. I got the point with, like, you know what? I enjoy officiating. There's something about it that is really helpful for me. So I have scheduled, set aside time that's not interfering with work. It's just a different part of my day.
I think one of the key words you said, Tom, is deciding. I think being all in is a decision. And if you're reacting, you're probably not. And there are times in my life where my family life is more important than work, and where work's more important than family life. And sometimes it's socializing, a weekend of golf, and I'll cancel everything to go play with some friends on a weekend of golf, and unapologetically. Sure. See you, Laura. See you work. I'll be back Monday. And if someone wants a meeting on that Friday, I'm sorry, I can't make that meeting. I think the more we can make those choices ahead of time, the better off we're going to be. I think what causes a lot of people stress is that feeling like, I don't know where I am, and mentally I'm thinking about this and this and this. And I was having a call with someone the other day, and they were worried about their son who was on a big interview. And in the middle of this call, we're on Zoom, he's texting. I'm like, dude, what's going on? He's like, oh, this is a really important thing for my son. I'm like, okay. Do you want me to go grab a cup of coffee? Do you want to reschedule? He's like, you're not upset? I'm like, no. Why didn't you tell me up front?
Right.
And I think that's part of it. If there is something that someone might not know, sharing with them. Like I told you last night, I talked to you, 10:30, and said, I may not be there in the morning. I'm not sure what's going on. That was, to me, being all in. Right. Tom, I want to be there. I may not be there, rather than you being here at 6 o'clock going, you overslept. Darn it. I knew better. I wanted to give you that heads up. And to me, that's part of being all in also. Planning and informing people of what all in, the people around you need to understand that.
Well, and the fact that you thought of other people means that you're all in on this. Like, easily could have been like, it'll be all right. He'll be fine. I'm not going to let him know. He'll just figure it out, which would have been okay. Right. And I think that ability to tell others what's going on means that that it is important to you what you're doing. And I have this other thing that is conflicting with what's going on. And I think the more we share what's going on, the more we actually say, you know what? I want you to understand where I'm at. Not that I'm not all in. I just have these other things that are also going on. And when I'm focused on what I'm doing, I'm all in. I just know that I'm going to have some things that may interrupt what's going on in the middle of my day.
Sounds good. Well, Tom, why don't we wrap up? This has been a great discussion. We will be back tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And if you're planning your week out, it'll be Friday at 7 a.m. Both of those times are Eastern time. We're having a weird week this week. And part of me thinks this is what's coming down the pike for us.
Potentially.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out, but appreciate everyone watching. And if you haven't joined our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, you need to. It is a great resource. And Tom, why don't you let them find out more about it right now? And we'll be back tomorrow morning.
Yes, indeed. It's easy to join. Just join our just go to Facebook group, search for Ring of Renegades, and you just have to ask to join. It is a private group, so you'll have to tell us why you're a renegade, but you can become a part of a growing community where we are trying to help people figure out how to take the next step along their own unique journey to success. So with that, have a great day, everyone. As Bob said, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day.
Carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and accomplish those next steps.